I was hoping today to talk a little bit about creativity. You know, a lot of people really struggle to give themselves permission to be creative, and reasonably so. I mean, we're all a little suspect of our own talent. And I remember a story I came across in my early 20s that kind of meant a lot to me. I was really into Allen Ginsberg, and I was reading his poetry, and I was reading, he did a lot of interviews. And one time, William F. Buckley had this television program called Firing Line. And Ginsberg went on there and sang a Hare Krishna song while playing the harmonium, you know. And he got back to New York to all his intelligentsia friends, and they all told him, "Did you know that everybody thinks you're an idiot? I mean, the whole country's making fun of you." And he said, "That's my job. You know, I'm a poet, and I'm going to play the fool. Most people have to go to work all day long, and they come home and they fight with their spouse, and they eat, and they like turn on the old boob tube, and somebody tries to sell them something. And I just screwed all that up. I went on and I sang about Krishna, and now they're sitting in bed and going, who's this stupid poet?" And they can't fall asleep, right? And that's his job as a poet. And so I find that very liberating, because I think that most of us really want to offer the world something of quality, something that the world will consider good or important. And that's really the enemy, because it's not up to us whether what we do is any good. And if history's taught us anything, the world is an extremely unreliable critic. You have to ask yourself, do you think human creativity matters? Well, most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about poetry, right? They have a life to live, and they're not really that concerned with Allen Ginsberg's poems or anybody's poems until their father dies. They go to a funeral, you lose a child, somebody breaks your heart, they don't love you anymore. And all of a sudden, you're desperate for making sense out of this life. And has anybody ever felt this bad before? How did they come out of this cloud? Or the inverse, something great. You meet somebody and your heart explodes. You love them so much you can't even see straight. You know, you're dizzy. Did anybody feel like this before? What is happening to me? And that's when art's not a luxury, it's actually sustenance. We need it. Okay, well, what is it? Human creativity is nature manifest in us. There's some negative things that come along with that, along with like feeling like you're in a glass wall and people are staring at you. That might be a negative, but the overwhelming positive is the power of art. Yeah. And it's a word right now that, you know, we live in a culture where everybody likes to be ironic or cynical or weird, but I've never been good at that, you know, but I learned with that movie right off the bat that art has a real power. And I've watched it over 30 years. People can say carpe diem to me leaving this interview, right? And I'll meet some kid who's got a tattooed on his arm. He saw the movie 3 years ago. You can't tell me that it doesn't have value, and that these little things that people put into the world, we often are made to feel like our actions don't have value, but our actions do have value. Caught up in this idea that life's a competition and that there's something to be won and something to be lost, or that there's not time to make mistakes. What you do does matter, and in general, making money is a terrible barometer for decision making in the same way that fear is. Being true to yourself happens over a lifetime. You can't do it in one day. And this might be long-winded, but you know how when you see a picture of vacation, you think, oh, that was so much fun. But when you were doing it, it wasn't that much fun. It's usually because when you look at the picture, you already know, oh, you made the flight, you got over that weird cold you had. You know the ending. And when I was in my 20s, I was so, first of all, River had just died. And that was very real for me. So the idea of being a casualty of child acting was not like an idea. It was rooted in a friendship and a loss, and I really wanted to survive. And I knew that things like any kind of superficial success or too much fanning the flames of my own ego would probably ruin everything. I have 4 kids, watching them play, watching them like pretend to be a butterfly or run around the house or doing anything, it's so beautiful. And I believe that we are here on this star in space to try to help one another, right? And first we have to survive, and then we have to thrive. And to thrive, to express ourselves, all right, well, here's the rub. We have to know ourselves. What do you love? And if you get close to what you love, who you are is revealed to you, and it expands. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, Della Hall Walker Green, on her deathbed, she wrote this little biography in the hospital. And it was only about 36 pages long. And she spent about 5 pages on the one time she did costumes for a play. Her first husband got like a paragraph, right? Cotton farming, of which she did for 50 years, gets a mention. 5 pages on doing these costumes. And my mom gave me one of her quilts that she made, and you can feel it. She was expressing herself. And it has a power that's real, right? All I've really been doing is the same goddamn thing every day. I'm trying to be a better actor. I'm trying to do this better. I'm trying to learn. I try to I try to watch movies. I try to study it. I look at our culture. I see my parents. I see my kids. I want to contribute. The arts are a huge responsibility, right? We're the part of the community at Thanksgiving dinner that starts the conversation. What are we going to talk about today? It's a huge thing. I want to contribute. I want to do it well. Well, I've been doing the same damn thing since I was 13. Your job is to make sense out of it. And so for me, it always comes as a surprise when people are too negative. And it comes as a surprise when people are too positive, because I'm the same person in here. You know, Linkletter always, he's a baseball fanatic. He always says, we caught the seam on that one, And when you're always trying, and it's a little mysterious when you catch the seam and when you don't. Because you're always trying, I want to make valuable art all the fucking time. And I remember we walked out of the mall, it was like blazing hot. I just looked at him and we both felt that movie just like a calling from God, this film, but completely differently. Like I wanted to be an actor. I was like, I got to make something that makes people feel. I just want to be a part of that. And he wanted to be in the military. That's what all we ever did is play FBI, play Army man, play knights, and I'd like pose with my sword. And he would build a working crossbow that you could shoot an arrow into a tree, right? So he joins the Army. Well, he just retired, colonel in the Green Berets. He's a multi-decorated combat veteran of Afghanistan, in Iraq. He now teaches a sail camp for children of fallen soldiers. He gave his life to his passion. His creativity was leadership. Leading others, his bravery to help others. That was something he felt called to do, and it gave back to him. We know this, the time of our life is so short, and how we spend it, are we spending it doing what's important to us? Most of us not. I mean, it's hard. The pull of habit is so huge, and that's what makes kids so beautifully creative, is that they don't have any habits, and they don't care if they're any good or not, right? They're not building a sandcastle going, I think I'm going to be a really good sandcastle builder. They throw themselves at whatever project you put in front of them, dancing, doing a painting, building something, any opportunity they have, they try to use it to impress upon you their individuality, right? It's so beautiful. There's a thing that worries me sometimes whenever you talk about creativity, because it can have this kind of feel that it's just nice, or it's warm, or it's something pleasant. It's not. It's vital. It's the way we heal each other. In singing our song, in telling our story, in inviting you to say, hey, listen to me, and I'll listen to you. We're starting a dialogue, and when you do that, this healing happens. And we come out of our corners, and we start to witness each other's common humanity. We start to assert it. And when we do that, really good things happen. So if you want to help your community, if you want to help your family, if you want to help your friends, you have to express yourself. And to express yourself, you have to know yourself. It's actually super easy. You just have to follow your love, right? There is no path. There's no path till you walk it. And you have to be willing to play the fool. So don't, read the book that you should read. Read the book you want to read. Right? Don't listen to the music that you used to like. Take some time to listen to some new music. Take some time to talk to somebody that you don't normally talk to. I guarantee if you do that, you will feel foolish. That's the point. Play the fool.